There was once a powerful man named Vishwamitra who was never content with his strength. To become even more powerful, he continuously practiced deep and focused meditation with unwavering devotion. His asceticism grew so intense that it struck fear into the heart of Lord Indra. The king of the gods knew that if Vishwamitra succeeded, he would gain enough power to overthrow him from his throne in Indraloka, the heavenly realm. To prevent this from happening, Lord Indra summoned the celestial goddess Menaka and instructed her to tempt the sage and break his concentration. Goddess Menaka said, "My lord, Vishwamitra is a sacred and mighty sage, quick to anger. His power, his discipline, and the fierce fire of his inner resolve have already caused you, O Lord, great concern. How much more frightened should I be, a mere servant? It was he who brought deep sorrow to the sage Vashishta, whose sons died young. Though born a warrior, Vishwamitra transformed himself into a Brahmin through the strength of his virtue and spiritual power. He could burn the three worlds, hell, earth, and heaven, with his energy, and shake the very ground with earthquakes. Because of his terrifying power, I beg you, my lord, help me in this task. Let Maruta, the wind god, scatter the forest's fragrant scents, and when I approach him, let the wind lift my garments. Let Manmatha, the god of love, assist me as well." Having said this, Goddess Menaka descended to the place where Vishwamitra was meditating. Upon arriving before the great sage, she offered her respectful greeting and began her subtle seduction. A breeze began to blow, lifting the hem of her garment, revealing a glimpse of her beautiful legs. The wind grew stronger and eventually swept away her clothing entirely. Feigning embarrassment, Menaka chased after her garments. Vishwamitra, unable to look away, was captivated by the beauty of her bare form. He was tempted, his concentration shattered. He abandoned his meditation and chose to be with the goddess. They lived together for some time. Eventually, Menaka became pregnant. When the time came to give birth, she journeyed to the banks of the Malini River in the serene Himalayas. There, she gave birth to a baby girl. Leaving the child by the river, she returned to the heavens. The infant was found and adopted by the sage Kanva. As the child had been protected by a group of Shakunta birds when she was discovered, he named her Shakuntala. She grew up believing sage Kanva was her true father. "That," said Shakuntala, concluding her tale, "is the story I once heard from sage Kanva, your majesty." Hearing the story, King Dushmanta said, "Marry me, O beautiful Shakuntala. My entire kingdom shall be yours. Will you marry me right now in a Gandharva ceremony? That is the most appropriate form of marriage under these circumstances." Shakuntala replied, "O my lord, please wait until Father Sage Kanva returns. Seek his permission first. I am certain he will bless our union." But Dushmanta insisted, "O most lovely and perfect maiden, I desire you as my companion. According to the law of creation, each individual is responsible for their own actions and choices. One may make decisions for oneself. According to this law, you may give your own consent. Know that there are 8 forms of marriage in this world. Manu, the first man, laid out these 8 types along with their proper rituals. The Gandharva marriage is most fitting for a warrior. Do not be afraid, nor hesitant. Dearest maiden, my heart is full of love for you. May yours be the same. Grant me your consent, and let us marry this very moment." Hearing this, Shakuntala responded, "If this path is indeed sanctioned by religion, and if I truly have the right to decide for myself, then listen, O noble prince of the Puru lineage. There are conditions you must fulfill. Swear to me that you will grant whatever I request. The son that I will bear must become your rightful heir. That is my only condition. O King Dushmanta, if you agree, then I am ready to marry you now." Without hesitation or concern for the conditions, King Dushmanta replied, "So be it. I shall grant all your wishes. I even intend to bring you to the palace after our marriage. As my queen, you rightly deserve to dwell in my palace." And so, Dushmanta and Shakuntala were wed in the Gandharva tradition. Hand in hand, they circled the sacred fire and recited the marriage mantras. Thus, their union was made sacred and complete. In their passionate days together, Dushmanta repeatedly vowed to send an envoy to fetch Shakuntala. He promised the envoy would be escorted by a royal honor guard. He described how she would be welcomed into the city with great celebration and praised by the people. After making his promises and satisfying his desires, King Dushmanta returned to the capital. Along the way, a thought crossed his mind. What will the great and noble sage Kanva say when he learns of all this? Not long after the king's departure, sage Kanva returned to his hermitage. Shakuntala, feeling ashamed and guilty, did not come forward to greet him as she usually did. Yet no one needed to inform him. Through his spiritual insight, the great sage knew what had taken place. With his inner vision, sage Kanva gazed upon his adopted daughter and said with joy and calmness, "My dear child, what is this you have done in secret without waiting for my blessing? I know you have married a man. Do not be anxious. Your marriage has not tainted your virtue. Truly, the Gandharva wedding, where a woman consents to a man who loves her, is one of the noblest forms of warrior marriage. Dushmanta is a good man, noble in character. You, my daughter Shakuntala, have taken him as your husband. The son you will bear will grow into a mighty and renowned youth. He will command the oceans, possess unmatched power, and rise as a king of kings with countless strong armies at his command." Shakuntala knelt before her foster father and washed his feet. Then, while arranging the fruits the sage had gathered, she said, "Father Sage, please grant your blessing to Dushmanta, whom I have accepted as my husband. I also ask for your blessing upon his people and his kingdom." Sage Kanva replied, "For your sake, my beloved daughter, I bless Dushmanta. But for you, ask whatever boon you desire." Shakuntala wished for her descendants with King Dushmanta to endure for all time. She therefore requested a blessing from sage Kanva, that the kings of the Paurava dynasty, descendants of the Puru line, would never lose their kingdom, and would remain renowned throughout the world. When the time came, Shakuntala gave birth to a healthy baby boy. By the age of 3, the child was already handsome, noble, brave, quick, and skilled in various branches of knowledge. With each passing day, his strength and power became more evident. He easily subdued the wild beasts that roamed near the hermitage. The forest sages began calling him Sarvadamana, meaning conqueror of all. And so, 3 years passed. Yet King Dushmanta never sent an envoy to fetch her. Not even a message or a word. Had Dushmanta forgotten Shakuntala?